My name is Randy Bigley. Joining me on the podcast right now from the Bucyrus Historical Society, I have Randy Fischer. Hello, Randy.
Good morning.
Good morning to you. Boy, it's that time of year which you guys are busy, right?
We're getting to be.
Yeah.
We're getting ready for 3 different events this summer.
Mm-hmm.
The first of which is not this Sunday, but this June.
Mm-hmm.
Sunday, June 25th, from 1 to 4 at Oakwood Cemetery here in Bucyrus. We're going to, and I know people like cringe when I say this term, but I'm going to say it anyway because I think it's funny, but we're going to resurrect the cemetery walks.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, that's clever.
Yeah, thank you for laughing.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah.
If those of you remember, the chamber here put on a series of them about 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
We did a couple during the bicentennial, but we think Historical Society, we want this to be an annual thing. So again, Sunday, June 25th, we are going to honor the 50-year club.
Okay.
For those of you that don't know what the 50-year club, just real briefly, it was a group of and again, because of the time, it was a group of guys that started in 1931 when W.A. Blicky, his wife threw him a party for having celebrated 50 years of working for Bucyrus City Bank at the time. Now it's Park National Bank. And he's asked afterwards, he goes, well, I wonder how many other fellas have been working 50 consecutive years in one place in Bucyrus. Turned out there was 2 others, Charles Picking and another fellow, I think it was a pharmacist. And so 2 weeks later, they had the first annual meeting of the 50-year club. Well, over time, it grew to the tops of about 50 members. You think about that, working 50 consecutive years in one place in Bucyrus. So they had an annual gathering, and they had big hitters come in. They had 3 different governors came and spoke to them as Ohio Supreme Court Justice, the head of the Fed in Cleveland. So it was an interesting group. They always met with Rotary because William Augustus Blicky founded Rotary here in Bucyrus, and I'm a Rotarian, so I gotta plug the Rotary. But they always met with Rotary, and there's 50 of those fellas. We're gonna pick 10, and there was, as you would expect, some of the titans of Bucyrus were in that group. So there was 2 different Nortons, 2 different Shunks, 3 different Wise people, and no, Wise from the Wise. They're all Wise, but from the Wise Funeral Home, and Picking. There was a couple Pickings in it. So we're going to honor those folks, and then some others. The interesting thing about it is that you didn't have to be a professional banker or attorney or doctors. There were those, but if you did anything, it didn't matter what you did. So, for example, Pete Bianchi, who had a fruit and confectionery stand on the west side of the square, was in it. There were folks that just worked for the railroad. Not just work, but worked for the railroad. So it was an interesting group of people, and so my grandfather was in it. I'm going to portray him. He had Fischer Hardware, worked in it for 50 years. So, and again, the cemetery walk. If you can walk around, we're going to have golf carts. If those of you that can't make the walk, but to go around and visit each one of the grave sites, and there'll be somebody there portraying that person or persons. And tell their life story.
Wow.
So that's June 25th from 1 to 4 at Oakwood Cemetery. July 22nd, Saturday, July 22nd is going to be our annual historical day at the Scroggs Museum on Walnut Street. We're going to do a couple, aside from the usual stuff. We're going to rebury the time capsule that we dug up in the bicentennial year, and then we're also going to have a Bucyrus Antiques Roadshow, where Mike Zahn and Lyle Gephardt, if you bring in an antique or something you think may have value, they're going to be there, appraise it, tell you what they think it's worth. So that should be some fun. We've got it's not a new display because we we opened it and dedicated it last fall, but we have a permanent display now. First Lieutenant Harry Martin's artifacts. We've got a new display of Loretta Schmoller's artifacts, and we're also going to, by the 22nd of July, should have our History of the Bratwurst Festival display up. So that segues into August when the Bratwurst Festival, that Saturday for sure, possibly Friday, but Saturday for sure we're going to be open, and we're going to have that display there. Again, History of the Bratwurst Festival. We've got the Carly girls, Chris and Carla, are going to, if they may not, somebody will be there. They're going to do some demonstrations of how they used to make bratwurst the old-fashioned way, by the hand cranks and all that. So that'll be that. So we're gonna highlight the Bratwurst Festival during the festival. So three good times to participate in Historical Society events.
Awesome. If someone wants more information about the Historical Society here in Bucyrus, how can they do that?
Website. BucyrusHistoricalSociety.com, and or just contact the society. There'll be informational posters and things, handouts floating around town. We'll have those at different locations. At the library, you can stop into the library and get some information. So, we're looking forward to a good summer.
All right. Yeah. Thank you so much. And oh, wow. Again, the cemetery resurrection walk.
Yes.
Cemetery walk resurrection.
Yeah, resurrection.
I liked it. That was good.
But, Sunday, June 25th from 1 to 4 at Oakwood Cemetery.
Did you say that started in 1931?
The 50-year club started in 1931, and it went through about 1963. So W.A. Blicky died in 63, and the average age of the people starting that 50-year was like 1888.
Yeah.
And so by 1938, most of them hit their 50-year thing. It was very. They really monitored who could get in. For example, I'll tell you, my grandfather started working at the hardware store in 1893. In 1921, he and his brother John went back to Germany for the first time to visit. My grandfather was 50 at the time. He was gone 6 months on a 6-month trip and when they were, I guess, interviewing him to become a member of the club, they said, "Well, you were out of the country for 6 months." That my grandfather said, "I still own the business. I was just visiting family." And it's an interesting story that is, because he brought back his 18-year-old bride, my grandmother, from that trip.
Oh,
but
wow. Wow.
But they eventually said, "Okay, fine. Yeah, you were still the owner of the company. You may not have been there at the time, but." They checked your references, I guess.
So he passed.
Yeah, he passed. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, Randy, thank you so much for coming in today.
Sure.
Yeah.
Enjoyed it.
Thanks.
Thanks.
No problem. Sounds like some great events coming up.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much.
Yep.